Hey everybody, Matt from RideHub here, and on this episode of Trail Physics, we're going to be looking at the janky rock garden on Entrails here in Squamish. So you may have seen the previous video with the Entrails whaleback, and something I mentioned during that video was that Entrails is a connector trail to most of the cool slab trails in Squamish. So Entrails becomes the barrier for entry to riding some super fun trails. And this section at the beginning of the Entrails descent causes a lot of riders headaches. And as challenging as this is, there's a few techniques you can use to get you through it easier and safer. And the first of those few things is going to be our line selection. So let's take a look at where we want to go. So once we start descending Entrails, we've got a bit of a janky root and rock section. And then eventually we approach this really gnarly rock garden. Now looking at the rock garden itself, it doesn't look like it's too bad, but it throws a ton of riders off. And to show you just how much this throws people off, I'm going to play a few clips from people going through this section while I was here filming. Woo! Yeah. Ooh, nope. How you doing? Good. Woo! That's a janky section in the water. Techie spot. Oh, that's a good idea. The thing that throws a lot of people off here is just there seems to be a couple different ways you can go. There's this rock edge here that's got clear handlebar scrape mark. We've got an exit with this edge of a rock here and some more rocks. So you got to be pretty particular about where you want to go. So as you're approaching, your line selection is the most important thing you got to worry about. Now, while some more advanced riders may huck themselves up and over this route here to straighten out and cut across the left, we're going to be talking about one particular line to get through this rock field. Some of the reasons this is really challenging: we have this root edge which runs parallel to the direction of our tires, so it really wants us to stay on one side or the other. And as we move closer, you'll see the three rocks that cause everybody the problem. The first is this triangle rock here. The second is this knuckle rock here. And the third is the handlebar scraping rock here. Because of the route that's right here, it's going to limit the line choice that we have when going into these rocks. And all in all, it's a really technical move. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to draw out the line that we're going to take through this rock field. So starting from back here, I'm going to stay to the left of this route, and I'm actually going to be pointing my bike directly at the handlebar scraping rock. As I come forward, I'm going to aim to keep my front tire to the right of this triangle rock. Then I'm going to execute a cornering maneuver in order to get it around to the left, and then I'm going to keep my front tire to the right of the knuckle rock. Once my front tire's gone past that knuckle rock, I'm going to go in a straight line between this knuckle and this ledge, and I'm going to go straight ahead and down the steep roll on the other side. So now that we know where the front tire needs to go, let's talk about that rear tire and the two additional things we need to do in order to make sure we can get through this move. And the reason I haven't talked much about the back tire is because if we do this move correctly, we're actually going to let this triangle rock here kick our back tire in line with our front tire and allow us to ride straight out the exit. Yep, I just told you that that rock likely needs to kick your rear tire. And that's one of the reasons a lot of people struggle with this move. Allow me to repeat myself. You want the rear tire to kick right around the triangle rock. If that sounds crazy to you, it's time to start getting comfortable being uncomfortable. So the second reason people struggle with this move is they usually don't have enough momentum. Now, I'm definitely not one of those coaches that really likes to subscribe to the mentality of just go faster. Now, in this move, because of all the rocks, if we don't have enough momentum, we're going to need to be able to put in a pedal stroke, and that's going to be really difficult. Now, there's a technique for that, which we'll go over, but initially, let's make sure we have enough momentum to carry us through the obstacle. As we get better and better, we can actually increase our skill level by slowing ourselves down, which requires more technical skill, and it requires us to be a little bit more precise. And the third and most important skill in order to ride this move is learning how to lean the bike, which is the basis for all cornering. Now you might be asking yourself, why the heck do I need to worry about cornering here? It's the cornering technique that's going to let us get through this section. And let me show you why. For those people who've taken one of our cornering lessons, they know there's two types of cornering that we teach: slow and short switchback cornering, and then high speed cornering. When we're doing slow speed cornering, we tend to be a little bit more upright on the bike, a little bit more weight into our arms. This is because we can't really lean the bike when we're going really slow. Higher speed cornering, which is the technique we want to use here, is going to cause us to lean the bike in order to steer. It's this leaning of the bike that's going to let us get through this move. There's a couple reasons that leaning the bike is really, really important. The first is because we want to make sure our handlebar clears this rock. As you can tell, most people have a tendency to scrape their hand and their handlebar down the edge of this rock, which is causing all the moss to go away. The other really important reason we're going to lean the bike is because of what it's going to do to the rear tire. Because this triangle rock is really off camber to the right, I can actually force the rear tire to break traction on this rock, which will cause the rear tire to kick sideways and track directly behind the front tire. If I don't lean the bike enough around this corner, what tends to happen is the bike sits a little bit more upright and we steer around this corner instead. Because the bike is more upright and we're now steering, there's a good chance I'm going to scrape my handlebar on the edge of this rock. The other thing that's going to happen is because the rear tire is actually flat instead of being leaned on an angle to the left, the rear tire will have a tendency to actually roll over this rock and get stuck in between here and the knuckle rock. That's going to cause the bike to feel like it's stopped suddenly, and it's very much going to impact your stability and balance. And looking from the side, you can see just how big of a knuckle that rock is. The tire's going to get stuck in here, this is going to zap your speed, and then it's going to roll over the edge and go thump. And this is going to feel super, super sloppy. Now, if my rear tire's flat here and I lean it to the left, that's going to create a really low traction scenario. Because this rock is on such an angle this way, my tire's now leaned opposite to the direction of this rock. It's going to create a loss of traction, which will cause the tire to slip and kick right. Now, this is what I want, because it's going to put the rear tire on a smooth path out towards the exit. Now, for a lot of people, having the rear tire kick sideways is a really sketchy feeling, but not if you're ready for it. So it's super important that we're in the right body position so we can deal with the rear tire kicking sideways and not feel like we're losing control. As my rear tire kicks around here, it's going to cause me to potentially oversteer, and I'm going to park my front tire right into that edge, bringing me to a near immediate stop. So I need to be prepared for that tire to kick right and adjust my body position and steering accordingly so I can keep going in the direction I want to go. And that comes a lot from looking ahead. It's also part of the reason that we always tell people when you're in ready position, make sure you have your elbows out. Because when you're leaning the bike, you're hinging at your elbows. If you want to be able to get the bike out of that left hand lean, you need your elbows wide so you have the leverage to bring the bike back to center. If your elbows are tucked down at their sides, you're not going to have that stability, you're also not going to have the power, and you're going to feel unstable. Now, what I need to do if I'm going to go slower through this section is use a pedaling technique called ratcheting. Ratcheting involves using a quarter turn of the pedals to create forward momentum when I need it. That also means I need to make sure I'm in the right gear to provide enough power that a quarter turn is going to give me all I need. Because a lot of people just finished a steep climb before this descent, they sometimes forget to shift into a harder gear, and it makes it more difficult to perform a ratchet. How I do that is I bring the forward foot almost up to 12 o'clock, I pedal forward a quarter turn until my pedals are level again. This way, when I finish the ratchet, I'm standing on both my feet, and I'm able to keep my pedals clear of any roots or rocks. Now remember, because we're going slower, it's going to cause the bike to be more upright and mean we use more steering than leaning. So the two things that are likely to happen because of that, one, I'm probably going to scrape my handlebar on the handlebar rock, and two, my rear tire will likely take the worst path down these two rocks here. And that's it. That's the Janky Rock Garden here on Entrails in Squamish. Thanks for watching this episode of Trail Physics with RideHub. If you wouldn't mind, please give this video a like and click the subscribe button. It always helps us. Now close the computer, put down your phone, and go ride your bike.